Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Wellness Wednesday, which is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to chat about something interesting and intriguing. And interestingly enough, our topic is on ACEs. ACEs matter specifically. And for those of you who don't know what ACEs are, ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. But I say interestingly enough because I don't think I have ever had a guest on to talk about ACEs specifically. Like people have mentioned it, but not specifically. So I think this is the absolute perfect guest to talk about this topic. Miss Cendie Stanford, who's out of the Orlando area, who I'm so super excited and delighted to have on with me tonight. I met her through a mutual, and I'm gonna call her friend, Miss Amanda Sheffield, whose birthday is actually today. Her birthday is today. Today is ACEs Day, designated by the state of New York back in 2019. And so, yeah, I'm so excited. So I'm gonna bring her on shortly. But before I do, we need to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. And your comments, your questions are very much so welcome. So put your city and state in the comments so we can give you a shout out. This is a safe space for us to engage with one another. And we fully expect to hear from you all. And please like and share and tag a friend and tell them they need to be on here for this conversation about ACEs. All right. I see Miss Brittany on here in Tallahassee. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I see Miss Letitia. She's on again tonight. Look, she was with me on Monday. Thank you for being here. She said, ready for this conversation. I know that's right. All right. Amanda is joining us. Happy birthday, Amanda. Thank you so much for being here and for connecting me with Miss Stanford. I really, really do appreciate you, and happy ACEs Day. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share some of Miss Cendie Stanford's bio. She is a passionate advocate for understanding and preventing adverse childhood experiences, drawing on her personal and ancestral history of trauma. She is dedicated to educating and inspiring individuals and communities with dual master's degrees and a business certificate from Rice University. Cendie founded Adverse Childhood Experiences Matter to make ACE research accessible to all. She is committed to social renewal through resilience-informed community education, and she believes this approach is key to healing the invisible mental wounds of childhood trauma and empowering communities towards recovery and resilience. Y'all, help me welcome Miss Cendie Stanford. Yay! Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi. How many people get to dance on their way to work? Like really excited about everything we can do.
Listen. Yes, we gotta dance sometimes. I love to dance too. So
It's a good way to like move energy, especially when you have one of those kind of days and your day's going to be a little bit longer. It's a good way to move energy. So thank
yeah,
you. I love hearing people read my bio because I always say, man, I don't look like what I done been through.
I understand that. I
You get
understand.
it, don't you? You get it. Thank
Yes,
you
I
for
do.
having us. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. So tell the people, who is Cendie Stanford, not what you do, because I just read a little bit about that, but Who are you in your own words?
I am stardust. I like to tell people I truly believe all of us come from like some form of stardust, but I jokingly say I am that I am. One of the things that I've learned on this journey of learning about what y'all are getting ready to hear about ACEs is that we are exactly what we call ourselves. If we say, I am tired, then you are what you are. Like you are what you call yourself. If you say, I am an alcoholic, then you become an alcoholic. If you say, I am somebody's child, you are. So I am somebody who got a chance to find out that all of the traumas or adversities that y'all are going to learn about later that happened to me in my childhood, I almost kind of hate to say it, but they had a purpose. And so back in the day, I would say you couldn't Google that to find out about like what happened in my childhood. But who I am now is the person who brings it to the table. Like I am that I am, as my mom would always say, I am that I am. I'm all my traumas. I'm all my positive experiences. I am all of my choices, honey.
Yes, I love
I'm a
that.
mama. I'm all of that. So yeah, I'm happy.
So the thing that I appreciate about that is your willingness to acknowledge all of it, you know, and accept it. And you know, just a lot of times we try to hide from our experiences, but no, we can't hide, you know. So anyway, well, good. Thank you for sharing that. So tell us a little bit about like how you kind of got into this work and more specifically, I guess, how you started Aces Matter, just briefly, because I, you know, we definitely
I'll do the brief version. I think I got the brief version.
okay.
If the name George Floyd rings a bell,
Mm-hmm.
and if the name Derek Chauvin rings a bell,
Mm-hmm.
that'll help people understand why I do this work. It just happened to be that moment in time in 2020 when all that mess around us was
Mm-hmm.
going around. And in that same year, I was learning about these things called adverse childhood experiences as a civilian, as a layperson, not as a therapist, not as somebody who has a mental health background. I was sitting around here with heart problems at the age of 42, unemployed, full of mental health issues that I could not name, strained relationship with my mother and my daughter. And it just felt like the world was crumbling, but I was holding a book that was teaching me about these things called ACEs. The George Floyd stuff happened. And just to fast forward from that teleportation that I just did, I learned that George Floyd also had these things called ACEs, adverse childhood experiences.
Okay.
I had to do a little internet digging to find it out, but it turns out he grew up in an environment, in a situation that was out of his control in childhood. And long of the short, all of these things called ACEs accumulate. And the CDC, of course, had done this research that said if all of these things are accumulating in your childhood, man, you may end up like George Floyd. Okay, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, we know what the media portrayed about that gentleman.
Right.
And what they didn't talk about was some of his childhood experiences that led him to some of those lifestyle choices. But we're not going to let Derek Chauvin get off, right? I looked up brother's childhood, Derek Chauvin, and it turns out he had those same things called ACEs. George Floyd, unfortunately, the way we hear it in the media is that he turned to drugs, substance, and crime. And Derek Chauvin, I'm not going to say it was his privileged skin, but with his ACEs, they gave him a pistol and a badge. And when those two ACEs met, y'all saw what the outcome was. They weren't calling them ACEs. They were calling them Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. And when I tell you God is real, in the middle of the night, 2 days after George Floyd had passed, maybe 24 hours after I just finished reading this book on ACEs, I was awakened. And I like to joke and say by the Holy Spirit. And I was like, their ACEs mattered. And
Mm.
that's how this baby was born. So from there, I have not stopped because, all of it started making sense. It wasn't just their story, it was my story too. But
Right,
I
right.
realized that that was the conversation we needed to be having. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I figured I could probably do it with a microphone and a nonprofit. And that's how I
Indeed.
ended up here.
Nice. And so you, Aces Matter started in what year?
2020, she'll be 5 years old in May.
Wonderful. Well, happy early
Yeah. I
birthday.
know. Thank you. I think what is May 27th? Is that
Let me see.
that's not a Gemini, is it? Is that a Gemini?
Uh,
Somebody tell us in the chat what's May 27th. Am
I think it might be because Taurus is the earlier part of May, so it might be a Gemini.
Hey, that's my twin. Yeah, Aces Matter is my twin, literally and figuratively. Then my
Right,
Gemini
right.
twin.
Nice, nice. So, talk a little bit. I think a good place to start, again, since this is really the first conversation that we're having around specifically on ACEs, what ACEs are and about the ACEs test.
I want to do that, and I also want to have permission to make this into like a presentation talk. Right? When I say presentation, it's just because I know that we teleport and we leave and we go places because our mind's gonna wander. It's just the reality of being
Mhm.
human. So I want to be able to use visuals so
Sure.
that if anything gets skipped, people can at least tie some visuals to the idea of ACEs because it is a big old concept to understand. But what I agreed to do was to, with my nonprofit, make the language accessible to people in ways that overlap with what everybody already knows. I'm
Gotcha.
using the fancy word ACEs, but really I can tell you everybody in this audience that's listening, they know what ACEs are. They just probably wasn't calling it that before, if that
Right.
makes sense.
It
Okay.
does. It does.
So let me share my screen and then I'm gonna do my best to use some visuals
Okay.
and all of my fun knowledge that I just had to figure out, where do I put all this knowledge? And I do need to give a quick disclaimer.
Yeah.
I love chemistry. And I'm a Black girl that loves chemistry, physics, and neuroscience. I would not like push that on everybody, but you're going to see you're going to see you're going to see hints of it in my presentation, just the
Right.
fact that I love science. I don't know how many people in the audience like science and chemistry, but I happen to be one of them because
Okay.
I tell people I'm a neurodivergent serial entrepreneur. So here we go, Nicole. I can share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here we go.
We got a few more folks that have joined us. My mom down in Miami.
Nice. Hi, everybody.
Thank you for
Hi,
being.
Amanda. Happy birthday, Amanda.
Yes, yes. And Miss Janita, who is here in the Midway area. Thank you for being here. And Cool Azul is on. Great combo for Tally. Came to ACE in 2020, also from childhood training class. All right, wonderful. Thank you for being here, Cool Azul. Tracy Golay is joining us as well. Thank you so much for being here, Tracy. All right, so what you got? You got your screen? All right. And for those of you, I'm curious too, while Cindy is getting that set up, how many of you are familiar with ACEs? Let us know. I see Cool Azul, it said yes, they are, but let us know. How many of you are familiar with ACEs? If you are, give us a thumbs up or a heart or a church finger or something in the comments if you're familiar with ACEs, if you're familiar with ACEs. All right. I think Cindy, you're muted, but I think you're ready, right?
Am I ready? Can you see my screen?
Here we go.
Oh, yeah, you can see my screen.
The
I'm
floor.
gonna drop. Yeah, how's my sound?
You're good. Sounds good.
Yay. So the first thing I'm gonna bring back to Wellness Wednesdays is something that I mentioned a couple of Wellness Wednesdays ago as I was watching in the chat. I want
Okay.
people to know, when you think about our childhood adversity, for all of us that are beyond the age of 18 now, I want you to think about our childhood adversity as ancestral intelligence, not artificial intelligence, but ancestral intelligence.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because you mentioned it earlier, Nicole, and Amanda's going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the body keeps the score.
Mm-hmm.
even though we have transitioned out of childhood and we've left home and we left all those people that might have caused harm purposely or not, our body will keep that score. And so when you get ready to learn about ACEs, one of the things I'm going to get in front of is that people typically say, and even I myself was one of the people who thought this way before my mind was renewed, is what happens in the house stays in the house. What happens in the past stays in the past. And that was what I like to call a belief system that I left home with. So body keeps the score. It is the gift of our God. It is ancestral intelligence encoded for future reference when you get ready to learn about ACEs. So I created a presentation on BS.
Okay.
When I say BS, I mean our belief systems.
Okay.
I told y'all I love chemistry and I love science. So if you don't remember anything about ACEs, you're going to be taken back to your days in high school chemistry if you were privileged enough to get taught that. Those are real chemical elements. But ancestral intelligence, the things that happen to us in our past, both good and bad, our body records them, and it then forms what we now understand as BS, our belief systems. What we believe about belonging, what we believe about what friendship and family support should look like, all of that gets recorded before we leave the house at 18. I'm going to give you an example, like video-wise, so you can see what somebody else says so that you have a kind of a biblical, spiritual connection to what it meant for somebody to see their belief system through the voice of somebody else. So this is where when I share the screen, y'all just tune in real quick because there's going to be some audio to it that I really believe it helps set the tone before you learn about the actual categories of ACEs. We ready, Nicole?
Yes.
Here we go.
My dad had 10 kids by 6 different women.
Yeah.
You know, Exodus 20 verse 5 talks about how the sins of your forefathers will visit you. Well, I'm telling you, them demons visited me. And I was out shooting craps one night at this illegal place. This young lady was with me. It wasn't her.
No.
One of the gentlemen, he said, "Hey, man, is your dad Alonzo still?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I remember when he would come in this same room and he would have different females with him." And to me, that was a flex. I'm like, that's what's up. And then this older gentleman, he said, "Is your grandfather Lil Burns still?" I said, "It is." He said, "I remember when he used to come in this same room and he used to have different women with him." Now, when the gentleman who knew my dad, that was cute. But when the second gentleman said it about my grandfather, I was like, wait a minute. My son, who's 33, he was 3 at the time. And I'm thinking, this is going to go from Lil Burn to Alonzo to Reggie and then Isaiah.
Right.
And so when I left that night with the young lady, normally I would go upstairs and, you know, do what you do. And I dropped her off and kept moving. I drove home scared that night. And see, the Bible says in Romans chapter 7, verse 18, that there dwelleth no good thing in the flesh.
Right.
So in other words, we all have an evil nature through God's grace that we're trying to manage.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, you can be saved and not delivered. Deliverance is a process.
Absolutely.
And that's why one of the things that have helped me is Isaiah 58:6. It says that when you fast, you loose bands of wickedness and you undo heavy burdens. So my wife, I tell you, there's been many days where I've had to push my play back to fight my own personal demons because we all got them.
Was that a word?
Oh, wee.
That was a whole word. Like, play that thing again. Y'all got to go find that clip.
Saved but not delivered. Oh my goodness.
And here's why I bring this up. Again, I smile and I have joy when I talk about this, but it can be disheartening to face awareness like he did. Just to recap, he's gambling at the age of 30. He has a 3-year-old son at home. He's with one of his, let's call them female partners. And he gets noticed by somebody that knew his daddy. And then he gets noticed by somebody that knew his granddaddy in this illegal house. So I also have to say that depending on the culture you were raised in, you might have been told that things like this are just generational curses.
Well,
you can use that word if you want, but I'm telling people, based on what we're about to learn, this is generational science. It's telling us that these patterns will continue to be passed down until somebody becomes aware of it and, you know, picks up the needle.
Wow.
Where were you thinking?
Wow. Yes. All of that. So the whew, the responses in the comments. So Janae White is on with us. She is a
Hey, Janae.
clinician here in Tallahassee, and she teaches social work on FAMU's campus. And so she also has a girls mentoring group that she is the founder of, Girls the Divas. So she is wooing to all of this, right? All right. Carmita, she said, love that. Nick Rains is also a clinician here in Tallahassee. Good evening. Thank you for joining us, Nick. We're talking about adverse childhood experiences matter, ACEs matter. And Cool Azul said generational trauma. Yes, 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 yes. Whew. All right. Dr. Jackson is on. She's a clinician on FAMU campus. She teaches. She's counsels at the FAMU Counseling Center. She's joining us as well. So yes, no, that's wow. That is powerful.
Powerful.
Yeah, yes. Awareness, understanding, key to changing the patterns. Absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that you could be saved but not delivered. That thing hit me like a ton of bricks right there.
We all need a deliverance plan. Iron it out for us, especially when you've been exposed to, I don't refer to them as curses anymore, because I am what I am. Remember, if we're using language like that, we become that. So what the wisdom of studying this work helped me realize, Nicole, is that these are patterns of science in our bodies doing exactly what they were patterned to do. And so when we act surprised when people go on to harm other people to the point where maybe a death occurs, a rape occurs, incest occurs, domestic violence occurs, child abuse, neglect, poverty, rape, all of these categories that are going to come up shortly. When we act surprised because people are having a hard time shifting that BS, we have to understand it was just the way our bodies were designed, just like our phones. When you install an app on it, that app has a designed purpose. So when we install ACEs in our system, or when ACEs get installed in our system as children out of our control, we carry those patterns on into our own parenting, unless, like the gentleman before, becomes aware of it before his 3-year-old becomes the 4th generation to do that exact same thing, if that video helps.
Absolutely. So let me pause real quick. Nick says, I have all my clients complete the assessment before our first session. Nice. Thank you for sharing that, Nick. And Kesey has joined us. Thank you for being here, Kesey. So, okay. Wow. That was quite a opening.
That was just the hors d'oeuvres, honey. That was just the bread and butter. It's a 5-course meal. That was just the bread and butter.
Okay. Ooh. All right. So, okay. What else you got for us? You want me to share?
I want to piggyback off of Nick Rains. I'm going to encourage people to do the survey, right? But before you jump and do the survey, I do want to acknowledge that it's a number, right? And that number that comes as a result of how you respond to those questions can be activating. Like, honestly, you have to teleport back to your childhood before the age of 18, answer these questions that many of us have tried to suppress and forget about, right? Our counselors will know, and again, I'm a civilian, not a doctor. This is just my own civilian experience with this. I was shocked. Like, oh my goodness, this is a perfect score on a test you don't really want to be perfect on. But it is the reality of so many of us that look like me, who grew up in zip codes where we cannot control the families we are born into and the poverty that is experienced as a result of that, and then all that comes after that. And I get that might be only a subsection of the population, but still, it also informs how people without ACEs treat us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And have you ever heard people say the world or the system is broken? Do you ever hear that often? People say that. I like to tell people the world and system is not broken. What is wrong is that the world or system is being led by wounded people who have not healed from their trauma. And so this is why we are experiencing this generation after generation.
Okay,
So know your score for the purposes of not passing it down, if nothing else.
Wait, you got to play that back. You got to play that back. Rewind.
Let me teleport. Here we go. The world is not, or the system is not broken. The system has been corrupted by people with wounds and unhealed trauma. And this is why we're seeing these patterns repeat over and over again. Our system has been corrupted by wounded people who have not healed from their trauma. And somebody's given them gavels, somebody's given them badges, somebody's given them guns, somebody's put them as cannon fodder in some of our most vulnerable systems, like prisons and service members. Like, again, when people say the system is broken, no, it's not. It is a well-oiled machine, in my opinion.
Okay.
Deep breath.
Yes.
But it's doable. It's fixable. Like, I got to tell people, it is, you know what? It's like having the lottery numbers. When you get your ACE score, it might not be the Tallahassee Meet Me at the Lottery Commission lottery numbers, but it is really the lottery numbers. Because again, this is the only way we get to take back control of our health, of the rearing of our children, really, because all of our ancestors that we would like to say, oh, it was bad parenting. No, it wasn't. It was by design. It was a pattern. Whether our parents, our moms, our dads decided to address their trauma or not, they did not have access to the information that we have access today. That ancestral intelligence is being made available to us by way of just giving these categories a name so that we can like start recognizing, oh, that's why that family keep doing that. Does that make sense?
It does. So we got a lot of comments. Donda has just joined us. Hey, Donda. Cool Azul said also finding one's triggers and why they are the trigger helps starts the growth. Write it down. Your triggers that start patterned negative behaviors. Keisha, I break all patterns of false science after me and bring awareness and healing to those who went through it before me. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for sharing.
She also mentioned about the trauma being so deep in the church, which I think that's a whole nother show, but I appreciate you bringing it up. Bree, she said the zip code lottery is real.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for being here, Bree. Oh, okay. And Cool Azul said, which is why narcissists rule this system.
Hey, we ain't calling no names, but we just say it. Like, we just say it. Like,
okay. All right. Yes. All right. Wait, where you got us next?
You know what I want to do? Go back to the screen share real quick.
Okay.
If I can, wait, am I still, okay, I'm screen sharing.
Yep.
So again, civilian, not a doctor. But one of the things that came out loud and clear as we think about what can we do about adverse childhood experiences, for my scripture people, since somebody brought up trauma in the church, I got a presentation on that one too, honey. I got a presentation on that one.
Sure you do.
But because that person brought it up, I'm just going to say that we're going to go back to Old Testament because it tells us that our imaginations as adults are evil from our childhood. And that is so harmful to hear. But when you think about it from a scientific perspective, Genesis 8:21 was onto something, right? When we come into this world as children, for most part, you know, everybody's around you, you're loving this kid, but the more and more trauma and adversity children are experiencing, the more and more this information is being recorded in our brain, in our heart, in our gut, right? And now I want you to imagine children who are having to grow up in zip codes where there's not access to healthy food. So now you put in ultra processed, unhealthy food, high sugary content food on top of adversity. What do you think happened at the schools? They getting called before they even get out the car to come back and pick up your child, right?
I need to text some principals and teachers right now. Look, some school district members, listen, ma'am.
I'm just a messenger. So again, when I say the system is not broken, the system is working just as designed. And I'm not here to, paint a picture against America, because I love this place. I live in Orlando. Our weather in Florida is usually very good. So I love America. But again, America, unfortunately, no matter how far we trace it back, even if we want to go back to 1776, America was started on a divorce from Great Britain. They just left. They divorced and they gave her a Statue of Liberty as a peace offering on the way out. So the fact that, our economy and our whole system is built on people who were wounded. The people who started this place was running from trauma. So why are we surprised that they decide to add more trauma using people of color to build the rest of the place? All of that sticks in these three places. And that's why I started off with ancestral intelligence. And I know this is just an opportunity for us to talk about it in a podcast, but y'all, this is decades of research condensed down so that we can listen this hour and say, we got to start doing something about not just the kids that are experiencing ACEs, but for many of us adults, we have to start working on our own trauma that we've tried to hide.
Mm-hmm.
There go my chemistry coming in again, y'all. They ain't playing. It's in the name.
Yeah.
It's in the name. That is our ancestral intelligence. And I think for school principals and bosses and politics, whatever we want to get into it, we can put lipstick on a pig if we want. But at the end of the day, she is still a pig.
Mm.
So all that information that I just said, like, there is tax dollars money that actually studies whether or not children and adults, no matter what color you are, how you will respond to stress based on what happened in your childhood, how your body will respond to disease based on what happened in your childhood. And that big old long word that's up here on the screen called epigenetics, like, they pay scientists to look at our cells to determine our cells and our genes to determine how many prisons do we need to build nearby. Like, that's where our money is going. And so I truly believe when we give people this information in a way that starts to make sense, and we shift from, being able to blame it on generational curses and really look at like what the science is telling us about why, again, our system is the way that it is, it's going to take us back to what happened to this person in childhood. So I'm going to stop there. I just lost my screen, but I'm coming back.
Okay, you're good. So let me
go ahead.
Let me pause real quick. We are a little more than halfway through our conversation. The time is flying by. But for those of you who are just tuning in, I am on with Ms. Cendie Stanford, the founder of ACEs Matter, which is a nonprofit based in Orlando, Florida. And we are talking ACEs Matter is our topic. ACEs standing for Adverse Childhood Experiences. This is ACEs Day. Designated as such by the state of New York in 2019. I don't know if any other state recognizes it as such, but April 30th is ACEs Day. And so we are highlighting that. But she has come up with another meaning for AI, not artificial intelligence, but ancestral intelligence, which those of you who are just joining in, you're going to have to catch the replay to catch what has already been thrown out here for us to digest this evening. So yes, please, Cendie, carry on.
I'll make the rest of this fun so we can save time for comments at the end, but let me leave people with 3 numbers. We love numbers, our lottery playing people, don't we? So I know people looking at this like, I'm going to play them numbers tomorrow. Go play them tomorrow because they have a lot to do with where we go next.
Okay.
I know people are itching to find out what like specifically are ACEs, and I'm going to get to that. But before we give the meat and potatoes, the research tells us that it's important to highlight and work on what people are already doing well. Again, I need to remind people that when you hear about ACEs, like, you're going to see that I'm one of those people that left home with a whole bunch of them, but I also left home with quite a few of the ones from that number 7 that's on the screen. Okay. So the research tells us like the best practice is to highlight again, what are people doing well and what can we pay more attention to, because we get more of what we focus on. So 7 positive childhood experiences exist. And even if we were to run out of time, I want people to look at these experiences that children can also get in childhood, because they consider those to be buffers Again, there's no magic wand in the moment to take poverty away, to take domestic violence away, to take food deserts away, because we don't have a magic wand right now. We have to do our best as a community to make sure that children are experiencing positive things that will hopefully buffer the adverse things. And then we'll go through the 15 categories of ACEs, and then we're going to leave with, what can I do with this information?
Got it.
Tell me how to heal and help my nervous system is where we're supposed to go with this, because it's really a nervous system issue.
Yes, it is.
That have us behaving the way we behave. So we should be doing these 7 buffers. We should be like you're doing already with the women. And I know the women that came to your event a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if it's okay.
It was Sunday. It was Sunday.
It was Sunday, right? That is a tradition. We don't have to name it specifically, but I want people to think of that as an example, whether we're doing it for children or people, adults with ACEs that, let's say, may have sexual trauma and need a safe space like this.
Yeah.
To learn about that. So we should have kids participating in community traditions. When kids feel a sense of belonging in high school, protected by an adult in their home, able to express their emotions safely with family members, if they feel supported by friends and family members during difficult times. And then if they have at least 2 non-parent adults / mentors that take a genuine interest in them, these are things that they call buffers to the ACEs that sometimes are out of our control.
Okay.
I had some of these, which is why you see me in the opposite side of the statistics that said I should be somewhere not living my best life because of the things that happened to me in my childhood. I had 2 non-parent adults or mentors that took a genuine, healthy interest in me and made sure that I left and went off to college and left my zip code. We can all become trained to be mentors to children. So I want to make sure I leave people with things that we can do, positive childhood experiences.
Okay.
And then let's get to the ACEs.
All
So I'm
right.
a chemistry buff. ACEs fall in 3 categories. What is the child's environment like? How is the child being treated? And what is their community like?
Okay.
Okay. If I was coaching people, I tell them that I use phosphorus from the chemistry table because it means the bringer of light. And although it may be hard to see that ACEs can bring light, I truly believe when we discover that there's wisdom in the bad stuff that happened to us, we can be bringers of light, just kind of like I'm doing for the group right now. So I don't believe in coincidences. There go number 15, and here they are. Oh man, my thing is messed up. Ignore that. It's some extra stuff on the screen that should not be there, but we're going to keep going.
Okay.
There are 15 of them.
Okay. So looks like 5 are environmental, 5 are treatment, and 5 are community.
Absolutely. In those categories. So environment, in the child's home, are they coming home to this? Number 1 being, are you coming home to a parent that may have mental health issues? That's going to affect your relationships in adulthood. That's going to affect your own emotional well-being in adulthood. And I say it's not, again, a blanket statement, but the research says it's highly likely that having a parent with mental illness is going to cause somebody in adulthood to be affected by that later on.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how that's happening? Even in divorce, deportation, in death, those are all considered an experience on the body that's going to leave a feeling of abandonment.
Yeah.
And then this is why we fast forward to today. We have men and women in violent relationships afraid to leave because they don't want to be abandoned, like their mom or dad might have abandoned them. So they stay in these relationships because it looks like love, or maybe this is the only again, I'm not making this up. Like, there's research that follows people who have experienced this and they can connect it. Middle column is the treatment. What is happening that the body is going to remember in terms of the 5 senses? Physical neglect can include clothing and food. Mm-hmm. Obviously, emotional neglect. If your parent has a mental illness, you can't come to them with, oh, I'm pregnant, because you're probably going to get kicked out. You can't come to a parent who hasn't addressed their mental illness with, issues of your sexuality. Like, you're probably not going to be well received if in middle school you having these emotions and don't have somebody to talk to about it.
Right.
So not to beat a dead horse, but just looking at all of these categories, I'm going to leave people with, I would have aced this. I have 14 out of the 15 that I put on record. I would have had 15 out of the 15, but we were never like homeless to the point where we had to sleep on the streets. My mom was single with 3 children. We were never homeless to the point where we had to sleep on the street because there was always a family member that would take us in until my mama could get back on her feet. But technically on paper, that would mean I had 15 out of 15 aces because there was not a stable home to wake up to every day. Does that make sense? Nobody should leave home with this much trauma. And I think as we focus on now what these things have the names, it gives us a direction of where we should be going, not only to like work on our own trauma, but to get in schools. You know, just having this information helps people be more compassionate. And here's where I'll stop. Somebody asked at the top of the call, how did I get into this? I come from, on my maternal side of my family, the last I checked 2 years ago, there were 668, 79 family members, 5 generations.
Wow.
The average ACE score of the family that I was born into on my maternal side was 8.5. Those are not, again, generational curses. Those are patterns, learned behaviors that if they can be learned, they can also be unlearned. And here's number 10. For those who are not interested in going and doing their own like deep dive research into the science, basically, you know, if you had some of those categories that we saw on the previous screen, some of these 10 things, all of these 10 things need to be a part of the healing process. The one at the very bottom is the one that's systemic. We got to start there. We can't wave a magic wand and just take poverty away or take struggling away financially. But at the end of the day, the red one at the very bottom tells us that this is definitely a systemic issue, because if you are born into financial insecurity or instability, you can just imagine all of the aces that are going to be accumulated as a result of that. So these are the 10 antidotes to aces. And I'm going to leave just say, you know, we can be pattern breakers, Nicole. That's why I started this conversation, to give people a reason to want to find their purpose in their trauma and, you know, be a part of a generation that is not silent, that we are pattern breakers. How did I do?
Great. Thank you. All right. I'm going to stop the screen share. We have several comments. I did not acknowledge Ozzy, who was on my show on Monday. He's a clinician out of Virginia Beach. Thank you for joining us tonight, Ozzy.
Yes.
So Janae, she said, as we as adults can have soul trauma, and we are inadvertently hurting others and or ourselves, we have to do that work, and the blessing is that there's growth there. So thank you for this conversation. Thank you, Janae, for your comment. Kiosha, greetings, Kiosha. Thank you for joining us. Karen, she said, very true. The fear is real. Thank you for being here, Karen. Cool Azul said, not just a parent, a sibling. I think that was to one of the comments you made earlier. Brother Quasi is on here from Atlanta. Thank you for joining us. And Dr. Sherry Sutton Johnson, thank you for being here. She said, thank you for this conversation. So many people are afraid to acknowledge trauma and the healing journey. Yes. Janae, yes to the pattern breakers. Yes. Keisha, know the strength of your culture in the cities. Don't just be there, be there. Yes, all of that. So you are muted, Cindy. So I don't know if you know that. Lisa,
I'm over here cheering. I'm trying to calm my cheering. Like, yeah, keep them coming, keep them coming.
is joining us now, and Nicole Jefferson, who is a clinician here in Tallahassee. Amazing work. This is so needed. Thank you for being here, Nicole. Kula Azul, true Keisha Talley is too afraid. It's starting to look like Cincinnati. I don't know what's in Cincinnati, but okay. Kesey, I'm grateful for this conversation. Thank you, Kesey. So what do y'all think about ACEs? I'm gonna tell you, I've already had a conversation with Amanda about trying to do a ACEs symposium, or I don't want to call it a conference yet, but something, a half day or something here in Tallahassee. And we got to get Cendie to come. So
I'm ready to bust some of y'all's Tallahassee people to Orlando in October, honey. Y'all come on down. Well, come on
Okay.
up. We're down. We're up.
Down, down. We gotta come down.
Come on
Yes.
down.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we do have a first annual summit this October in remembrance and honoring World Mental Health Day and domestic peace awareness instead of domestic violence. Remember, I am what I call myself. So instead of promoting domestic violence prevention, we're promoting domestic peace. Because one of the things I would say Amanda would co-sign on this is that somebody got to work with the people that's hurting people.
Yeah.
We can't just throw them all in prison. Like, even though they build in prisons as fast as kids are being born, the truth is that somebody has to work with, whether it's, male on male, female on male, female, however the relationship is set up. Our idea is to promote domestic peace. Like, let's help people find healthy ways to have emotionally intelligent conversations when they upset with somebody, right? Because just locking them up is creating more aces, if you know what I mean. So in October, we're having a summit to bring this conversation to Orlando, for us, by us.
Okay.
And we're encouraging people who do art, who have maybe art therapy, or they use art in the form of spoken word or painting, or even writing and publishing a book. We're asking those people to sign up to maybe become speakers for the event, like using the people who are taking their traumas, even if they haven't called them ACEs before, and they're using it to empower people. So we want to have all types of people at the summit. And if we need to put y'all on the bus to get y'all down here, we will.
All right. We're going to have to make that happen.
Yeah.
So Amanda said one of the most important things is being trauma informed before trying to help others. Without it, even well-meaning people can do more harm than good, especially during screenings. I see this every day.
That's a fact.
So, yes. And Amanda is here in Tallahassee. She has an organization where she Amanda, help me out. If you can't put your link in the chat, but she gives people the ACEs test, and based on their score, she gives them a solution to whatever their ACEs score was, or what areas on the ACEs test that they might need some assistance with, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Let's see. So I heard you, Carmita Masterclass. Maybe we could definitely call it that. Bree said cultivating dandelions. Okay.
I like that.
Yes. Donda said that would
Somebody asked, what do we do once we know our ACE score, Janita?
Yes,
Great question.
There to it. Yes. Let me get Cooler Soul real quick. Cincinnati people need so much healing, and so does this city. What I've seen here is sad in the West End neighborhood, downtown Cincinnati. Okay. Not familiar, but thank you for sharing. And stop judging. When is the summit? All right, we'll get those details at the end. Let's go back to Janita's question, which is, once we know the ACEs, what should we do with it?
One more time, can I just put the visual back up?
Sure. Absolutely.
Janita, great question. There are 10 specific antidotes. Okay. And some of those cost, obviously, right? One of the things that can be done tomorrow is to continue to do what's within your willpower, that's within your power, and that is learn. Whether you are following social media accounts that are of therapists or credible people, the takeaway here is, until we can all afford these life-saving nervous system supports that some people that only have long money have access to, the best thing I can recommend is start to work on the energy around you. And that can be as simple as unfollowing and following social media accounts that are helpful. That was where I started. And so I'm giving you that advice because the information is so saturated out there. Like Amanda says, sometimes just giving the score and doing that can cause more harm than good. So You know, for me, all of us are going to have a formula that works differently for each of us. But I can tell you, in the meantime, the more you can learn about it, the more confident you're going to feel if you do have a therapist or a doctor that you can then go talk to about it. But again, buyer beware. There are so many people that have never heard about this that they may not be able to hold a conversation with you if you know about it. But that shouldn't stop us, right? Like, we should know that these are real. Our trauma from our childhood is real. And now they've given it a short 3-word name to help us understand why we may be reacting and responding to things the way we do. So work on the energy around you. It can include your home space, your social media space, if you're on the computer doing that, but definitely just start by increasing how much you know about it. And then that'll help you decide what you should do next in terms of the other antidotes.
No, that's good. And I appreciate this slide because I think, probably nine out of the 10 things we talk about on a regular basis. Actually, we talk about all 10 of these things on a regular basis in terms of getting enough sleep, making sure you're eating healthy food, exercising, having healthy relationships, mindfulness, connecting with counselors and therapists. So, seeing it in this format, I think is also helpful.
Yeah. And I see there's a Carmita Kelly on here. I just want to say the power in healing. And when I talked about checking your energy around you, Carmita and I are probably now in a 2-year relationship. Guess how we learned about each other? We was openly in a space talking about our trauma. And now we're connected. Carmita happened to, have an unfortunate tragedy in her life a few years ago. She won't mind me sharing. But unfortunately, her daughter, at a very young age, lost her life to domestic violence. She was with a partner, and his upset went too far, and it took the life of a mother. And so now Carmita, as the grandmother, happened to learn about ACEs. And I tell people this, I started creating me a new tribe. If your family of origin is not ready to accept or do this walk or do the work, it ain't about them. It's about you at the end of the day. And so Carmita is now a person that's a part of my healing tribe. As you can see on the screen again, healthy relationships, honey, is key. That ain't no lie. If we go to the club with people, we should be going to therapy with our friends. So Carmita happens to be one of those people in my life that I've met since I've been on this journey, as well as Amanda.
Nice. I love that. Keisha said, I'm there. She said, I'm there and bringing my whole family on the little short yellow bus.
Bring that short yellow bus. Come on, healthy relationships for yellow.
Yes. Amanda, she said, we help families heal from trauma by connecting them to support resources and personalized case management based on their ACE score. We break cycles and build strong futures. Thank you so much. Dre Shaw, who is a clinician here in Tallahassee as well. He is on. He said this interview is amazing. Thank you, Dre. Let's see. Amanda, best birthday.
Can I do one more best birthday ever for Amanda while she's here?
She said best birthday ever. Yes. Thank you, Nicole. Go ahead. Help yourself.
Donate to your local nonprofits who are out there talking about trauma-informed care. If you don't have the capacity yourself, but you know something needs to be done about it, invest $5 a month in Amanda's organization. So when the families come to her with their ACEs issues, which she has plenty of those stories to tell, she has the resources to help, right? I hear people say all the time, well, I really don't have time to volunteer. I know the world's a mess. You know what? How many nonprofits out here doing these grassroots led door-to-door conversations? We take that off your plate. So find a nonprofit to donate to. And y'all got one right here in Tallahassee that I'm sure could use an extra boost. Because again, when she's not on her W-2 job, she out in the community helping people, right?
And she got a whole husband and a whole family.
All of that. And she's doing it. So again, we're not asking for much, but if you can't donate your time, give us a couple of dollars so that people who are, in the midst of these ACEs and the side effects get the resources they need when people like Amanda out in the streets doing their thing.
Is out of these streets. Amanda,
out in the streets.
put your website or what have you in the chat for us as well, Amanda, please. All right. So Janae, healthy relationships. I'm here for it. Wonderful. She's talking one more time for the people in the back. Thanks, sis. Are welcome. All right. Janita said, as a fellow
You're
neurodivergent,
welcome, neurodivergent.
I appreciate the visuals. Yes. Thank you so much. Ozzy, great and concrete information tonight. Thank you, Ozzy. I think I got everybody who had a comment. Okay. So,
We did good, Nicole.
whew, this was really great. All right.
Let's
So,
transfer that energy. Come on, y'all. Transfer,
yes,
move it around. Whatever
come
we need
on.
to do, move it
Come on.
around.
Come
Move
on.
it
What
around.
else? What we got? I know we wrapping it up, but tell me what we got. Traumas, toxins, thoughts, transformation.
Whether you had 1 or 15,
Okay.
just understanding that those were traumas on your body and there is nothing wrong with you. It is simply what happened to you. So whether it's the children we're working with, we trying to understand, or it's adults we're working with that still behaving like children that we're trying to understand, we have to understand that these traumas have a chemical reaction on the inside of us that cause toxins. And those toxins lead to thoughts. And the more we think about something, the more we're going to take action on that something, whether it's getting a bowl of macaroni and cheese or picking up a gun to go shoot up a school. The more those traumas and toxins build up, the more the thoughts are going to be influenced. And the wisdom is that that transformation can go in either direction. So I think it's important to know that the remnants of our childhood doesn't always have to turn out to be a ticking time bomb. I really want people to hear that. It is very doable. And I'm doing a course in a couple of weeks on the health belief model, which helps people understand, well, why don't we take it serious when we know that this is an issue in our community? So I'll be doing a virtual presentation on this. If anybody's interested, go to our website at acesmatter.org. You can watch and learn a little bit more about what to do next to better understand your community. And then also, if you want to know a little bit more about my backstory, I did a TEDx talk that can be found on YouTube, scanning that QR code, or even on my website, where I tell you a little bit more about those 14 ACEs that I experienced. You might hear my story. You might hear your own story in my story. So I definitely encourage you guys to go watch my TEDx talk, or any TEDx talk, if you like, that's on ACEs, because that, again, is another place to help increase your awareness of the study. Thank you, Ms. Nicole. Thank you so much.
So very welcome. This was really, really great. So yes, please. Look, you already did the last part, which was telling people how to connect with you and give us some.
I saw the time. I saw that time. It was like, oh, it's almost 9:30.
Look, I love it. I love it. I'm gonna still let you do that though. Plug yourself. Like, I mean, just, let them know where they can connect with you, and tell them about the event in October, please.
Yes. So I want you guys to visit acesmatter.org, definitely to know your score. There's an opportunity to not just know your adverse childhood score, but also find out what your positive childhood experience score is, because it lets you know what you're working with, right? I'm going to also ask that you guys click on the tab where it says events. It's real big and bold at the header. I do a monthly movie screening, and Amanda has been like day 1G inviting people to come to this monthly movie screening. So we have it once a month. It's a 2-hour screening, fire chat, kick your feet up, get you something to drink, turn your Zoom on, and we come on live to watch a film about ACEs that helps explain it even more. And plus we talk about it a little bit longer. So you can find that on the website. Once a month, we do that first Tuesday, and the next one is May the 6th.
Okay.
In that same tab under the events, you're going to see some more information about the October event. Many of the events are free to attend. I encourage you to find one that works for you, because no matter which one you go to, you're going to learn a lot more about ACEs. You're going to meet other people who are talking about childhood trauma. And in that case, you might just be able to find you other tribe members for yourself, just based on being exposed at that conference. So go check us out, acesmatter.org. I would appreciate the quizzes coming through. And, if you got a little extra change in your pocket, donate, because we're going to carry this conversation all around the world. Ain't that right, Amanda?
Absolutely. 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 So definitely check out the website. If you're on LinkedIn, connect with Cendie on LinkedIn and get involved to the extent that you can. Take the test, right? You want to go ahead and take the ACEs test, see what your score is, and see where you can heal your nervous system, because that's what we're talking about. She said that there's nothing wrong with you, but it's what happened to you, right? And a lot of times we really don't recognize that there are things that have happened to us that we haven't processed, hasn't been treated, and it needs to. Oh, this has been phenomenal. It really has. I hope you all have really benefited from this conversation. I know I have. If it has been beneficial to you, let us know in the comments. I see Donda said, "What a great discussion." Amanda is saying yes to your question. Cool Azul, thank you for this. You are very much so welcome. Janae, much needed conversation. Thank you both again. Our pleasure. My mom, much food for thought. We need this in Miami too. Yes, Ma, we do. Look, everything I have on here, she wanted to bring in Miami, but I get that.
That's
Nothing
funny.
wrong with you is what happened to you. Yes, yes, yes. We need that on a shirt. Listen, yes. So, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. I heard about it maybe about 3 years ago, and when I heard about it, I felt like it was so under the radar. And so I feel like this conversation is so timely and something that we all really need to be like exploring, like taking a deeper dive on this and then really trying to get the healing we need. All right. So thank you for all of that. Cendie gave us her LinkedIn and the information for is that for the conference?
Yeah, the conference is in there. And I'm sorry, I'll make sure to drop these better in the YouTube because I know it's easier for people to click, but
That's cool.
we
Yeah.
lost all the formatting when I pasted it.
No, no, no. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. All right, Letitia, great to be here for this. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Janita. Great convo. I'm following on socials. She said we need a part two.
We
Okay,
need a part two. We do.
make that happen. Amanda, if you need it after taking the test. All right, wonderful. Amanda, I'm still waiting for you to drop your information in the chat, ma'am. A website, a LinkedIn, something, social media, something, ma'am. Let the people know. All right. Dre Shaw, he said, I need to research this and utilize it. So Dre is my researcher. So yes, Dre, please research and get back to me. Listen, I need a team of people that's wanting to do a ACEs something. What do we call it? A ACEs, somebody had a name for it, not conference, but master class. That's what Carmita. She said a
Masterclass.
master
Carmita said
class.
masterclass. Yeah.
Yes, we need to have a ACEs master class here in Tallahassee. We gonna come to yours, but we need one here too. Yes,
I like that. I will bring my Wakam boots in tow.
yes. All right, Amanda said she did. All right, I must have missed it, but that's fine. All right, so here it is again. ACEs matter. Donda, how do you tap into those experiences that you don't remember? Oh, that's a real great question. Cendie.
This is where I'm a default to mental health services and therapy just being
Yeah.
super important. I know in our culture, some of us grew up hearing that you don't want them people knowing your business because it's going to follow you. But remember that is BS, a belief system. And
Yeah.
I can tell the person that asked that again as a civilian. I was 42 when I got my first therapist for myself. And it
Mhm.
was her who helped me realize that one of my ACEs had me suffering from resentment in my adulthood. Now
Hmm.
that's a part two, part three conversation, but it was because I found a therapist that looked like me, that understood childhood trauma, that understood ACEs, and spent 6 months with her.
Mhm.
And after those discussions, I got this light bulb moment that the reason why I was having such a strained relationship with my mother and my daughter was because of resentment. And resentment comes from being neglected as a child. Now, whether your parent did it on purpose or on accident, but if there's no emotional support, you might feel resentful because you think your parents should be this way, like, Claire Huxtable, but you got this version. And if you go on to like heal yourself, you'll realize, later on that you might still be harboring that. So it took a therapist to have to tell me that I could have not come to awareness on my own. And I had to get comfortable talking about my childhood experiences in order for my therapist to get to that place. I hope that's helpful.
No, that is. Thank you so much. All right. So we have to work out a part 2. Maybe we could get a clinician on that has some extensive experience in childhood trauma. So let's explore that. Amanda said, I'm down. Let's get the class going. I'm doing it now. Would love to partner here and tally with others that's ready. Yes.
Janita gave some good advice too. That's one that comes up often.
Yeah, EMDR therapy is good for those traumas that you don't remember. Verify online and with a professional.
Absolutely.
And there are several EMDR professionals here in Tallahassee. So that's a great point, Janita. Thank you for sharing that. So I don't want to hold us too longer over the hour. We're about 5 minutes over. So for those of you who are new to the platform, of course, I want to invite you to subscribe to Conversations with Nicole. We are here live on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30, focus on mental health and wellness, particularly in Black and Brown communities. But the information is really good for everybody, really. But yes, subscribe on YouTube. That is the place to catch this, as well as on Facebook as well. And I am on LinkedIn via my personal page, but it's a robust conversation, and this one was really, really, really good. So thank you so much. Thank you. And we will definitely work on getting a part 2, work on getting to Orlando for your event, and work on creating one of our own. So that is the plan. Yes. Donda said, thank you, Donda. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of the evening. Okay, thank you. All right. And Amanda, she said, sorry, the links are not coming up in the chat with the right links. So I'll send them after the live. That's fine. I knew it wasn't just me. I wasn't seeing them. So, but yes, we will get your information out, Amanda, for sure. All right. Wonderful. All right. Thank y'all. Have a great night, and we will see y'all later. Bye.